Dear chess friends, welcome to your of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game from the TCEC Season 27 Swiss event that you can follow now on the official and beautiful TCEC website. We have here now the latest version of Stockfish, the powerful Stockfish 17 that has been released a couple of days ago against another top engine Ceres in a crazy Benoni Gambit accepted. And in this game, first of all, what we have to say, it's now the first official game by Stockfish 17, and it's already a spectacular one with a thrilling, really crazy exchange sacrifice in the middle game stage. So put your seatbelts on. I think we'll have now a great path with Stockfish 17. So with the white pieces, the fish open with the move d4. Ceres also, you see, a strong opponent. It has a rating of 3,646 rating points. Stockfish, on the other hand, 3,678 rating points in AI chess. It's a good gap, but you see also the Ceres engine. We have also introduced this chess engine in the previous TCEC competition. It's really also a powerful chess engine. After move d4 and c5, the fish took, d takes c5, queen to a5, and after knight to c3, queen to c5, we have now reached the position that has been prearranged by the organizer. From this point on, the engines are calculating the position for themselves. Stockfish continues with normal development. Knight to f3, e6, we have e4, a6, and now bishop to f4. Stockfish is first of all covering this square. It's not allowing the queen to retreat in a clear way. You could of course try bishop to e3, but then the queen retreats, and then afterwards maybe we can try knight to f6 and then d5, bishop to e7, castling. So black could be also solid in this position. After bishop to f4, Stockfish is first of all building sort of a net around the queen. Is not allowing the queen to get on a good square. We have now bishop to e7, knight to d2, with the idea of course to play knight to b3 and hit the queen. b5, now comes this move, queen to b6, and you see now in this whole opening stage, Stockfish has already 3 minor pieces out. Has also forced sort of an endangered position by its opponent queen, and also we have to mention Ceres has brought out only 1 minor piece, so it's obviously a lack of development here for black, and white has already a great attacking formation. We have now queen to d3 by the fish, preparing queenside castling, normal development here, and after bishop to e2, we have now the aggressive g5 here by Ceres. Really aggressive method. Stockfish retreats. Here Ceres continues the development, and now finally queenside castling. And you see now there is a certain problem, I think, in black's position already. Black got out now out of this maybe opening mess, but has now several dark square problems that have to be handled, of course. And Stockfish has always maybe certain positional idea with, I don't know, bishop to d6, trading off the pieces and attack further, I don't know, the dark squares, and keep of course also the light square bishop a little bit misplaced because too many pawns in black's position are on light square. So very, I would say, already weak complex here by black. After queenside castling, knight to f6 by Ceres, and now bishop to d6. Now comes this idea, knight to b4. Ceres battles now against the queen. We have bishop takes b4. Interesting choice here by the fish. But after bishop to b4, again Stockfish plays a3, attacks now the bishop. If you try something like this, then after queen to c3, the knight is endangered. Very hard to defend. You cannot take, of course, here the pawn because the rook is hanging. After a3, that's why bishop to e7, but now Stockfish exploits again the dark square problems that Ceres still has in the position. Although black has still the dark square bishop on the board, Stockfish continues now the pressure with e5, knight to d5. We have bishop to f3, and after knight to c3, Stockfish is delaying here the move queen takes c3. First of all, plays queen takes d7. King to f8 has to be played, and now picks up the bishop with queen to b7. And you see now in this whole sequence, Stockfish gained the pawn. Ceres simply plays queen takes b7, bishop to b7. Here we have rook to a7, and now a powerful move, rook to d7. Many of us, I think, would not dare to play this move because you're getting, of course, your also rook a little bit vulnerable to your opponent's attacks. Here in the continuation, knight to d5 by Ceres. Interesting choice. You see, with this move, Ceres locked out now the rook on d7. That is also protecting the bishop on b7. But now Stockfish plays an interesting idea with rook to d1. We have king to e8, attacking now the rook, and now the fish. You can guess what the Stockfish engine is doing. Plays now an amazing rook takes d5. Beautiful exchange sacrifice, really wild stuff. After e takes d5, rook to c7 is not allowing here actually any moves by black. Really Black has a tough time to find here really a solid move. The bishop is obviously out of game. Look at this crazy position. The bishop doesn't have so many good squares. The e5 pawn is very annoying here to handle. For instance, if you try here king to d8, this is not working because of this check. So very messy position. Even if you try something like bishop to d8, then bishop to c6 is winning the rook, because this comes with a check, and we have a discovered attack against the rook. So again, game over here for Black. So very hard now to find the best next move. Here in the continuation, king to f8 here by Ceres. Stockfish continues now with knight to d4. Amazing move, controlling also the c6 square. Here Stockfish is obviously trying to attack the rook, and is also controlling here the square f5, where when the knight comes on f5, it's controlling then also the g7 square. In some lines, when the knight is on f5, there are even several checkmate threats that could happen. So of course Ceres will not get checkmated, but it's always a tactical problem now for Black to handle. So really crazy position. Stockfish sacrificed the exchange, but has now very powerful and active play. We have bishop to d8 now finally by Ceres, and now rook to d8. You cannot pick up now this piece, because after here rook to d8, as we mentioned, you have to now connect the king to the rook here, because you don't want to lose the piece, of course. And then this knight is coming on this beautiful square. You can just maybe play king to g6, but Stockfish calculated everything in a good way in this whole sequence. You see now Stockfish has still 7 pawns on the board. Ceres has only 5 pawns on the board. Maybe you can pick up this one, but then with c3, this is still a tough position to play, obviously, for white too. But with up a pawn, I think Stockfish would win this endgame for sure. So that's why Ceres didn't go into this line, played something else, played now king to g7, connected now finally this bishop. Connects now the rook with the bishop here on the 8th rank. Knight to f5 anyway. We have king to g6, and now knight to d6, which is a very important move, I would say, here for Stockfish. Finally, this bishop is liberated. Finally, this bishop is protected, and now finally also this bishop could maybe pick up the pawn on d5. So now Stockfish can get out with the rook, can play freely with the rook, can also attack this pawn. So from this point on, I think Stockfish released the pressure, released the tension between its minor pieces. We have now g4, rook to c6. There is of course a threat to play discovered check by removing the knight, maybe with knight to b5 or similar stuff. We have bishop to g5, king to b1, king to h5, and now g3, not allowing here this king to come closer maybe to the pawns. We have now bishop to h6, bishop takes e6, and see now slowly but surely Stockfish is grabbing many pawns here on the queen side. Bishop to g7, bishop to b5, nothing spectacular, but Stockfish is simply getting more material. Bishop to e5, we have bishop to e2. The threat is of course something like h3, and then pick up this one. We have rook to d8. Even if you try maybe bishop to d6, then we pick up this one. You're trying f5, but obviously in this sequence, again, I would say completely winning position here for white. We have now 3 connected passers with the support of the bishop, with the support of the rook. Obviously, this is game over here for Black. After bishop to e2, that's why rook to d8. Here by Ceres, we have knight to f5, king to g5, and now knight to h6, going also now for the f5 pawn. Rook to d6. Ceres is trying to trade off more pieces. Rook takes d6, bishop to d6, and now knight to g4. Stockfish grabs another pawn. Look how crazy Stockfish plays with its minor pieces, with the rook activity, with the bishop activity. You are down the exchange, but Stockfish has now decisive material with his pawns, with his extra pawns here, also with this 3 versus 2 situation. On the king side, we have bishop to c5, now f4, king to f5, and now knight to e5. Stockfish cements now the knight on a beautiful square. King to e6, c3, king comes closer now to the center of the board, and now Stockfish uses of course also the king in the attack. Bishop to f2, bishop to d1, bishop to e3, and now after knight to f3, rook to a8. What Stockfish has to be careful here, I think, is to protect this h2 pawn. If this pawn is down, then maybe this could be vulnerable, this could be vulnerable. So that's why knight to f3, a good move here by Stockfish 17. We have now king to d3, bishop to c1. We have now repetition after a couple more moves, bishop to f2, and now bishop to b5. Stockfish wants of course to slowly but surely push this pawn on the a file, and of course overload a little bit this rook on the a file to the defense of a potential promotion. We have now rook to a7, now comes a4. Here Ceres is trying, of course, to get the rook closer, but now Stockfish simply pushed the pawn further. We have king to c7 and now b4. The pawns are marching. It's almost impossible now position to defend here for Ceres. We have f6, bishop to d3, controlling also the e2 square, but also hitting now this pawn on h7. h6, we have now knight to h4. Now we have, of course, this opportunity, knight to f5, and grabbing the pawn on h6. What should you do? If you try something like bishop to g1, this wasn't played in the game, still you have this option, knight to f5, we can play then h4, you're trying to maybe attack this one, but again, we simply slowly push this one and the knight will be included into the attack. So again, game over, I would say, here for black. After knight to h4, we have rook to e1, knight to f5, we have rook to h1, and now knight to h6, and now bishop to g3. Certain tactic by Ceres, of course, if you take, then we'll pick up this one. But even if you try rook to h2 in this position to maybe get your rook more active, then knight to g4 is going to happen. You get the fork, and now you try maybe to do something like this. This is just the Stockfish line that I'm showing you here. Knight to f2, then after something like this, still you can push this one, and Stockfish says that this is perfectly fine because you cannot get the rook close enough to the action. Now finally this pawns will be pushed here, and when the pawns are on the 6th rank with the support of the bishop, again it's game over here for black. After knight to h6, we have bishop to g3. Stockfish took, lost now of course the knight on h6, but again with a similar position. Now the pawns are rolling, they are supported by the bishop, the king will be included into the game. Still there is this situation 2 versus 1 on this side of the board, so game over, I would say again. But in human level, I think many of us would mess this up with the white pieces. So let's see now how Stockfish manages to win this game precisely. We have rook to h3, Stockfish pushed the pawn further, Ceres goes behind, and now b6. First of all the check, king to b7, and now c4. We have first a check, king to b3, rook to d2, attacking now the bishop, bishop to f5, and now after d takes c4, king to c4. Ceres is pretty much forced now to go with the rook behind the pawns. Stockfish delivers a check, forces now the reaction, now again activates the king closer here, king to c5, rook to a5, Stockfish lost the pawn, but now after king to c6, even if you try, I don't know, something like rook to a4 here, this is not good because then you simply play bishop to d3, first a check, and then you see black has to step back from the defense of the pawn, will simply push it further. Even if you try something like this, in one moment you have to give up the rook for a pawn, and in this 2 versus 1 with the support of the bishop situation, game over again here for black. After king to c6, that's why rook to a3, Stockfish pushed the pawn further. We have now check, Ceres goes closer to the pawn, and now a beautiful move here by the fish, g5. And here comes the problem. After move f takes g5 that Ceres played, you cannot play actually f takes g5. If you play this from white's perspective, that's why I said many of us would mess this up. Seems tempting, but actually after f takes g5, this is a thematic draw, because after rook to g3, you're trying maybe to push the pawn, then we sack the rook, bishop to g6, and now the bishop is not defending anymore this pawn. It would be actually a thematic draw. Very, very wild stuff. So that's why after f takes g5, Stockfish passes through, simply goes further with this pawn. Great move here. Rook to c4, bishop to d5, rook to h4, and now it's time to push the pawn. We have here now king to e7, rook to h2, but even if you go with king to b6, then f7 is going to happen. Nothing can be done. So rook to h2, we have f7, rook to e2, a couple of checks here by Ceres, rook to f2, controlling again this pawn. Now we have king to c7, threatening, of course, the promotion. Ceres delivers a check, but now Stockfish can cover, and it's now really game over. Rook to b2, now comes the promotion. Ceres sacrifice now the rook. It's not the stalemate because still black has this pawn, and now with queen to c5, it was a beautiful, beautiful checkmate here by Stockfish 17. So great game, great endgame technique, great middle game, I would say also. Exploiting these dark square problems in a great way. Gaining a pawn, then the exchange sacrifice, tiny little improvements of the position, getting many pawns, grabbing many pawns on the queen side. Amazing, amazing again now game by the strongest chess engine in the world by Stockfish 17. So
Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see some other beautiful games by Stockfish 17, by Stockfish 16, and also the older versions, check out our Come to Chess Games Play by Computers. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.